All right, so we're jumping into chapter 3 here. This is about cells, and you all know about cells. You've been studying cells since you were in 3rd grade, right? You know things about them. So don't freak out. This is going to be some pieces you know, some pieces that are going to be new. Cells give structure and function to everything, right? Cells are the key for all the pieces that your body does. So they have, oh, don't move things around, just actually slide, please. Come on. I don't know how to make this thing do what I want it to do without moving slides. This has happened in the past. I am not interested in you knowing the theory of all the different people who have worked on cells. It is fascinating to check out how they went from just very rudimentary, I almost said telescopes again, microscopes, to all the way down to electron scanning microscopes where we're diving into the actual pieces of the cells. But it's just an impressive amount. I don't know how you would stop doing this. It's really bothering me. Okay, maybe over there. There we go. Okay, so some of the theory that boils down to it is this. All organisms are composed of cells, right? Cells are the simplest and foundational functional unit that we have in the body. And organ structure and functions are due to the cell's activities, right? In order for my eye to work, I have to have cells that can receive light and change that light into an electrical signal and send that electrical signal to my brain, right? If I were to put my foot up where my eye was, it wouldn't allow me to see. The cells are different, right? And cells only come from pre-existing cells. A cell, again, replicates itself. Remember mitosis and meiosis. This is the process of cell replication. We have a huge variety of cells in our bodies. And they all have different names, pieces. Many of the names describe what they look like. So have you heard of this term squamous before? A simple squamous cell. Squamous is Latin for scales. So squamous, scale, it's a scaly looking cell. It looks like this. Doesn't that kind of look like a scale? Right? Cuboidal, simple cuboidal epithelium. This is an actual type of tissue. Cuboid sounds like what? A cube, right? And so that's what it's shaped like, a cube. A question? The cheek cells that we looked at, simple squamous, yes ma'am. Yep, and they kind of looked like that, right? A bit, yeah. Sure, yeah, they're kind of squished down, they look like a scale. That's the word that they use for it. Scale, like a fish, not like a scale like how much do you weigh. Then we have columnar cells. What does columnar sound like? A column. Are you with me? Again, anatomists are not creative. That's what I keep saying over and over again. They're going to simply describe to you what the stuff looks like. Okay? And again, we'll come back to these. We're going to do a whole section on tissues. So we'll come back to those definitely. Some size pieces. Most cells are about 10 to 15 micrometers or micrometers. You'll hear it pronounced that way as well. So does anyone know what a micrometer is? So a meter, right? About 3.5 feet long. If I want to make it into micrometers, how many pieces do I cut it into? You physics people better know this. We've already been talking about this. 1,000,000. I take a meter, I cut it into 1,000,000 pieces, that's a micrometer. I take 10 to 15 of those 1,000,000 pieces, that's how big one cell, most cells are. Very small, right? There are some cells that are very large. The largest cell most folks will say is the egg cell, the ovum that a woman produces. If you look in your textbook at a period at the end of a sentence on your textbook, that's about the size of one of the egg cells. Yeah, it's big enough that it is actually visible with the naked eye. Okay? There are some nerve cells that technically that one nerve is over 1 meter long. That one cell, we don't usually think about those. The classic example is the egg cell as being the biggest one.
So that means we all start off the size of a penis?
Yeah, very tiny. The sperm cells are actually even the smallest in the human body. They're tiny, tiny, tiny little things. So a big, huge egg and a little tiny sperm, they get together to make you. Isn't that exciting? Okay? Good, good, good. Again, I'm not looking for, we don't have to be comfortable with that. Lots of different electron pieces, a lot of different microscopes we use to dive in. Of course, you and I would just be using light microscopes. That's all we have here in this facility. But again, we got down to, 1,000 times of zoom with our 100 times lens and our 10 times eyepiece multiplied together, right? So we can get down pretty deep. We can see some pretty good structure in these cells. There are, of course, ways using transmission electron microscopes or scanning electron microscopes for us to go even deeper. So here's kind of an example showing you the difference. So this is a micrometer, the little UM, that's what that means. So this piece would be 10 micrometers here. But then taking the same thing, we can zoom in, and now this is 5 micrometers, much, much smaller, right? So you got much more detail of one of the little pieces here. You can see it much clearer, picking out structures much better. Are you comfortable that when you see a picture like this, those things aren't actually that color? This always freaked me out the first time I realized this. What did we do to your cheek cells? I just gave the answer. We stained them, right? We had to actually put that blue stuff on it so that you could actually see them. It's the same process here. Okay? You have to prepare the cell in order for you to actually see them. There aren't actually these blue parts and pink parts, and it's just how we stain them to show the differences between these pieces. Yes? Based upon it's made of different substances.
Oh, so it'll like absorb.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. All right. So basic components, and we could see this in the cells we did. That's want to make sure that you understand. What could you see in the cell? And when we zoomed in and looked at those cells, give me something you could see, sir. A nucleus, right? We could see the nucleus definitely in the center. What else could we see? Yes, ma'am. Okay, the extracellular fluid, right? Sure, either that's what's inside or what's outside. The cytoplasm, right? Extracellular would be around it, okay? But cytoplasm would be in there. What else could we see? Like one of the main things you all could see, sir, the membrane, the cell wall. Right? That's how you knew, oh, that circle, little oval thing, that's a cell. Okay? So those are the simplest parts. Cell membrane, cytoplasm, the inside jelly stuff, and the nucleus. And all those pieces have more pieces to them, right? But those are your simple basic pieces. This extracellular fluid, that's the fluid outside of the cell. Right? If you remember looking on your slide, it wasn't cells as far as the eye can see. There'd be cell here, cell there, cell. Okay? Now part of that's because that's how we harvested them, but the same thing in your body. There are spaces between cells. That extracellular fluid we give a name to in the human body. Does anybody remember? It was one of the names of the systems. The lymph system. The lymphatic system is dealing with that extracellular fluid. We call that fluid lymph. L-Y-M-P-H. Yes, sir.
So, like, there is this place, this massage place.
Yeah.
Where my grandpa was at work, and they had all these areas like lymph.
Lymphedema. Mm-hmm.
And, like, so what does it mean to drain out the lymph?
So just by us moving right now, we are pumping that lymph through our bodies. Like your heart is the pump for your circular system, right? It contracts and moves the blood through your body. The lymph system doesn't have a pump. What it relies on is movement from our bodies. The lymph nodes in our bodies are mostly at our joints. So hips, under our arms, our elbows, our shoulders, okay? And just by moving, it helps squeeze those as the muscles contract, and it pushes the lymph through our body. Are you with me? Some people who've had a surgery especially, those lymph vessels can be damaged, and so then the lymph starts pooling. And you could have somebody with one leg that's like about this big. It's called elephantitis, is like an old word for it, but lymphedema. And so there are massage techniques you can do to help get that fluid moving out of the body. Yeah, or back to the heart, basically what you're doing, to be absorbed in the blood and peed out through the urine. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, so again, I apologize for no study guide. It will be up later today. Please make sure you do some reading and some preparing. Again, knowing that Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when you're going to take the assessment, that's when we're going to jump into Chapter 3 assessment. Okay? Adios, my friends.